Hello, writing students. Mrs. Kimbrell here with a short video about setting up your Word document on your PC to be MLA compliant. As you can see here, we're on the Purdue Online Writing Lab page, which is an excellent resource about MLA and all kinds of other issues related to writing. The MLA formatting and style guide helps students to be able to set their papers up and do all of the special items that are required so that a paper will be compliant with MLA. As we see here, MLA, which is the Modern Language Association, is the style most commonly used to write papers and cite sources within the liberal arts and humanities. So that would be any English class that you take. There's also APA style, which is used, but we're going to stick with MLA in writing class. In order to make this video as useful as possible and to make the best use of your time, please pause the video and open up a Word document so that you can set your document up as we go along. There are very many details that are specific to MLA, and you won't remember all of them. So in order not to have to watch this twice, pause it now and open up a Word document. And as you watch the video and see what I'm going to do to set up my document, you can pause the video each time and you can do the actions that I'm going to tell you about. It's very important that you get the details down because you'll be expected in any writing class, English class that you participate in, to be able to correctly format the paper. Sometimes this can be very confusing and tricky, and there are reasons for that. There are hidden features in Word that sometimes make it difficult to see exactly what is wrong. And so I want to show you today some ways to get around these problems. Now, if you have a Mac, things work differently on a Mac, and maybe some of these ideas will also help you Mac students. So the first thing that we need to do when setting up a document for correct MLA formatting is to set the font. On the home page of Word, you will see a bar here with the fonts. I want that to be Times New Roman. If it's not set on Times New Roman, sometimes it'll be set on Calibri or Arial. Those are non-serif fonts. They don't have the little feet, and I want a serif font. So if you were to have, say, Calibri here, click on this little down arrow. And usually Times New Roman is right up near the top of the list, so click on that. If it's not near the top of the list, it'll be in alphabetical order. Once you have Times New Roman set, you need to go over to the font size. 12 is the correct font size, so we're going to put it on 12. Now I'll show you how to set your font and your font size so that you don't have to fix it every time you go to type a paper. Click on this little arrow right here in the font section. And this screen pops up. You can see it's already set on Times New Roman and 12 because we just did that. But normally this computer is set on Calibri 11 point. So I would like for it to always pop up as Times New Roman 12 point. So go down to the bottom of the screen, click on Set as Default. And this box asks you if you want to change the default font to Times New Roman just for this document or for all documents. I'm going to click All Documents and click OK. And now every time I open up a Word document on this computer, it will open up as Times New Roman 12 point. The next thing we need to do is set the line spacing. This can be one of the trickiest parts. So somewhere, depending on which version of Word you will have a little icon on the home page that looks like this. And this is line and paragraph spacing. Always in MLA, everything is double spaced. So click on the down arrow. And this is single space, 1.15 spaced, 1.5 spaced. You want to click on double space, 2.0. So click on that, and from now on, everything will be double spaced. But that's not all. This is where people usually run into problems and why they end up with gaps between the lines of their heading and after their title and between their paragraphs. And you don't want gaps. You want everything to be very evenly double spaced with no spaces that are larger or smaller than any of the other spaces. So again, click on the little down arrow for the line spacing. And now we need to go to line spacing options. Click on that. And here we see what the problem is and why we would have gaps if we were to actually start typing and hitting the enter bar. Where it says spacing before and after, both of these should say 0. And that means that it won't put any extra space before the paragraph. It won't put any space after the paragraph. Here you see after the paragraph it says 8 point. That means that if you were to start typing and you hit the enter bar to start a new paragraph, there would be a larger gap between the paragraphs than double space. So click the down arrow. Also make sure that it doesn't say auto. That will cause gaps. If you click one more time after 0, auto will show up. You don't want auto. We want it to say 0 on both of those. So now we have 0 point before and after paragraphs. These have double spacing. And so now we can go down and click OK. And let's just go ahead for now and click as set as default. And that way we won't have to fix that every single time we go to write a paper. If it asks you if you want to set the default alignment for all documents, click yes. And then it's easy enough if you need to do single spacing for something, you can easily do that without going into the other part. All right, so that's the trickiest part. Now the next thing we need to worry about as far as formatting goes are the margins. So we go to Layout up here at the top of the toolbar, click Layout. You'll see some icons and sometimes the location is different depending on which version of Word you have. Click on Margins. And for MLA, we need 1-inch margins all the way around. So click on Normal. Now we have our font size, our line spacing, our margins. They're all set up. So the first thing we want to do when we set up an MLA paper is to type our own name. And so I'll put Jennifer Kimbrell. Hit the space bar. It goes right down to double space because you've already set that. Next is the teacher or professor's name, and it's my class, so I'll put Mrs. Kimbrell. And then you'll put the name of the class, and in this case, it is IEW and whatever your level is, either level 1 or level 2 or level 3, and then hit the space bar one more time, and now we're going to do the date. The date has to be done a particular way to be MLA official, and that is different than the way we normally write dates. The first thing we want to do is have the day of the month, then the year, no commas. So today is the 20th, so we put 20 September 2017. That looks different, doesn't it? Now, we want to do our title, so we hit the space bar one more time. Oh, something I didn't talk about was the alignment. Let's go back to the home page here. If you look at these icons here, this tells you where the writing will start on each line, and right now it's aligned to the left. That means anything you type is going to be set all the way over to the left, which is how we do almost everything except for the title. So now we're going to do the title. We hit the enter bar one time, but we want the title centered. So we click on this icon. And let's say this is the Brave Dogs Save Lives paragraph. So we type Brave Dogs Save Lives. And there's our title. Hit the enter space one more time, the enter bar. Now, if we start typing here, we're going to have a very odd looking paper because it's not going to be lined on the left. So once you write your title, you've got to go back up here and click Align Left again. Since this will be the first line of a paragraph, we have to indent. 10 spaces really is what they want for MLA. So hit the tab button, and it should be set so that it will go ahead and make a good official indent size. And we would just start typing our paper. When people in Alaska were dying from a throat disease, men decided to take the medicine to them using dog sled teams. Okay, so you see you have a nice indent there that tells us that the paragraph started. Look at this. We don't have any big gaps between our heading lines and between the heading and the title and between the title and the first paragraph, and that's how you want it to look. There's one last thing that we have to do to have our paper completely set up for MLA, and that is to set up our header. The header is different from the heading. This is the heading of an MLA paper. A header is the section of the paper above the heading that includes page numbers. And in MLA documents, page numbers are needed when there is more than one page to the document, which most of ours will be very soon. So in order to put in a header, double-click in this space above the heading. And you see how the rest of the document looks very faint now, and there's this dotted line and the word header right here. We're going to put in page numbers, but before we do that, we need to set the font. Because right now, if I start typing, even though I set Times New Roman as my default font for the document, the header will still show up as Calibri. So go to the Home tab, click. You see the font there. We want to change it from Calibri to Times New Roman. Want to change it from 11 to 12, just like we did for typing our document. And we'd like to go ahead and set it for default so we don't have to do that again. So click on this little arrow again. And let's go down to Set as Default. And I'm going to click All Documents. So now we have Times New Roman. Now, this might seem like making a mountain out of a molehill, but when my son took college English, he typed the paper very correctly in MLA format, but when he did his header, he didn't notice that it was in a different font, and the professor actually took off points. Some professors are very particular about following all the rules, and some aren't, and you don't know which kind of professor you're going to get. So it's best just to do it right every time, and then you don't have to worry about it. Now we're going to go back and click on the Design tab again. And somewhere on this Design tab, depending on the version of Word you have, you will see page number. So click on that. And the page numbers are going to be on the top of the page for MLA. So click Top of Page. And our numbers need to be on the right side for MLA. So click plain number 3. And you see a 1 show right up there. Now, that's not the only thing you need for your page number. You also have to have your last name. So I'm going to type Kimbrell, put a space, and there's a 1. And all the pages will now be numbered in order. Some professors do not want to see this on the first page. Since there's already a heading that has the last name and there's a title, that's obviously the first page. So some professors will say no number on the first page. You have to find out how your professor prefers it, or your English teacher. If they do want no number on the first page, You go right up here to different first page, and you click an arrow, a check mark, and notice that the page number has now disappeared. That's how I prefer for the papers to be done in my class, because I want you to get used to doing that. So when you turn papers for my class, please click different first page so you'll have no last name or page number on the first page. Now, in order to get back to the document, you click Close Header. Now, I want to show you that page numbers appear on the rest of the page, so I'm going to page down the document, and you can see when we get to page 2, there's my last name in page 2, and that will be the case on every subsequent page. This seems like a lot of trouble and a lot of little ticky details, but the best thing to do is to set your word processor up so that it's on double space and it's got the right kind of margins. And then really all you have to worry about after that is to make sure that you put in the page number, and then everything will be nice and easy, and you will have a correctly formatted MLA paper.